All right, this story I've told before, and it goes like this. This was in about 10 years after Gorbachev opened up the Iron Curtain and dissolved communism. So in those 10 years, Chabad started reestablishing the Chabad houses in Russia. In Russia, before that, there was none, or they were very quiet. There were the Chabad houses that were in Russia. But as soon as the communism fell, which I think that was like 1990, some 1990, 91, when it fell, as there started Chabad houses all over. So this story happened like about 10 years ago, 10 years after that, 2000 to 2000. So one of the Chabad emissaries there decided he wanted to make a Chabad Passover Seder in a nearby town. Now, in Russia, nobody knows how many Jews there are in Russia because the Jews themselves don't know that they're Jews. A lot of Jews, they just realized, that their grandmother told them they were Jews, or their mother told them, listen, my grandmother told me before she died that she was a Jew. First of all, communism forbade any religious education. Secondly, the Jews really loved communism. The Jews were big fans of communism until, they realized what it was, but they were big fans of communism. So they left Judaism. And also it was dangerous. And not only that, a lot of Jews ran to Russia from like Poland, where they had been killed by the Nazis because they were Jews. So it was a bad thing to be a Jew. And it was a very good thing to hide from your children that they're Jews, because it's like taking the sign of Cain from their forehead, not a Jew. So you can be like everybody else, you won't be hated. So people didn't know they're Jews. But as soon as they found out that they were Jews and that there was no danger to it, and that a lot of Jews started coming back, and we see it's really quite amazing what happened. Anyway, so this shliach, this emissary of Chabad, so he got a young man that wanted to make a Passover Seder. This is how I heard the story. Maybe there's details in it, but this is how. And they went to a nearby town, and they went to the mayor, and they said, hello, we are from Chabad, and we're Jews, and we want to make a Passover Seder in your town. How many people live in the town? So he says, live in the town, 50,000, 70,000. How many are Jews? He says, I don't know. I have no way of knowing. He said, we want to make this evening. So there's going to be food there. This. It says, okay, maybe you'll get, 500 people. 500 people. So I said, good. That's what he said. But we haven't got any place like that. We haven't got any place big enough for that. All the other places are used, and they don't hold that many people. It's a small town. So he said, well, when we came in, we saw this big building. There was it seemed to be in disuse. We looked at it. It was all the doors are locked. I said, oh, that you're talking about, that's the communist center. That hasn't been used for over 10 years. Since Gorbachev chose. So there hasn't been any meetings there at all. And we turned off the electricity and locked the doors so that, people won't get in. And there's no water, there's no electricity, and the place is, So he said, well, we would, that would be a good place. We could use it. He said, no, we can't open up. So he said, he gave him $50. And he said, okay, I think we can work something out. So sure enough, they brought people and they cleaned the whole place out, and they made advertisements. And this young man, he had a translator with him. And they brought wine, grape juice, whatever. They boiled the wine. Anyway, the night of Passover came, and the place was filled. They had several hundred people that came. Most of them were older people, but they still came. No set of Pesach. And the young man explained little by little, what this is, and this is matzah, and this is the mortar, and this is this. This is what we've been doing this for 3,300 years, and etc. And he explains this is the first cup, and the first matzah, and the second matzah. Finally, in the end of the night of the Seder, and people were there, and they sang together, Dai Dai Yenu. At the end of the night of the Seder, He said, and now we are going to pour the fifth cup of wine. We're not going to drink. This is the cup for Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet is going to come and he's going to announce Moshiach. Moshiach is going to come and he's going to gather all the Jews. He's going to build a third temple and he's going to gather all the Jews together to the land of Israel. And that's why we're pouring this cup, fifth cup. So one man stands up. He sees that everyone is talking to each other. And one man stands up. The man looks around to everybody for their agreement. And he says in Russian, young man, we would like to all thank you for your wonderful meal that you have made. Maybe he spoke in English. It could be this fellow spoke in English. Could be. He said, young man, we want to thank you very much for the wonderful evening that you brought, and for the food, and for the wonderful, interesting stories that you've told and fables. But that what you just said now about Mashiach is going to come, and he's going to bring the third temple, and he's going to bring this is not for us. You have to understand that we are intellectual people here. You're sitting here speaking, there's professors, there's teachers, there's doctors, there's scientists, and we are very intellectual people. Those stories are for little children, maybe for old ladies, but not for us. Mashiach, cup, things. So if he said, but nothing personal, nothing personal. We very much enjoy what you're saying, and we will remember the evening, and we're grateful to you. But this thing about the Mashiach coming, it's just, it's a good story, but maybe you believe it, but it's just not. So the young man didn't lose his composure, and he said, my dear friend, I would like to ask you a question. He says, yes. He said, do you know what communism is? The man looked around. So everyone was laughing at communism. Of course we know communism. Before 10 years ago, we breathed communism. We ate communism. We learned communism. Everything was, of course we know what communism is. He said, tell me, if someone would have told you, were you here like 20 years ago, 15 years ago? He says, yes, I'm here already, 50 years. So if someone would have told you 10 years ago, when communism was strong, powerful, that one day you would be sitting in the communist center hall and talking about God and doing Jewish things, think back then, if someone would have told you that one day you were going to be sitting here talking about God, would you believe them? And he said, bravo, bravo. And everyone clapped. And there was in communist Russia, no one dreamed that communism would stop, that Jews would be free to say and act like Jews, and especially doing it in the communist central hall. that was the heart and the soul of communism. That it would fall in 1 minute, and everybody would say, nobody would dream of such a thing like that. This is the same thing also. You don't dream Mashiach is going to come. You don't dream, just like 10 years ago, you didn't dream that you could be free to sit here. Also, you're not dreaming what you think is impossible is definitely possible. And that's the whole point of the night of Seder, of Passover, is what we think is impossible, that Mashiach will actually come and change the entire world. Not only is it possible, it will be actual. Have a good day with Mashiach. And I'll see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning.
Thank you. Looking forward.